Counter-Strike just isn't any good anymore. Why, back in my day, we had the best SMG of all time, the MP5 Navy. I was in the Navy back in WW1 and WW2 and www.google.com. What was I talking about again?
Greetings, TheWarOwl greets you. Valve just released the MP5-SD as an alternative weapon to the MP7. People have been asking for the MP5 for ages now. I don't know why. Nostalgia? With the exception of the Bison, every single submachine gun in Counter-Strike is used in competitive. They're fairly well balanced. It's probably the most balanced weapon group. There really wasn't a need for the MP5. Look, I don't buy into the whole idea that to keep a competitive game good, you have to keep throwing stuff at the player. I understand you have to do it. You gotta keep, we gotta keep it interesting. We need new stuff, and that's not how you make a good game. That's how you keep the dummies interested and keep playing. Just dangle something shiny in front of their face every once in a while.
The MP5-SD is available right now in deathmatch and casual game modes, so it doesn't interfere with competitive until the weapon is properly balanced. It's interesting that they didn't put it inside of a test build, but that does mean that we now have a weapon that's meant to be used on anti-eco that we can't currently test against players who do not have helmets, because you spawn with armor and helmet in both of those game modes. The MP5-SD is the suppressed variant, meaning it has a built-in suppressor that you can't take off. It differs greatly from the versions present in 1.6 and Source. But who cares? Those games are old. The new MP5 appears to be based on the MP7 currently in the game. For example, when I removed Spread from my local server, both weapons had the exact same recoil. Yes, the exact same. In fact, most of the stats are the same. So it makes sense to just say it's an MP7 and focus on the differences. On the negative side, the MP5 has slightly worse damage. At medium distances, you're gonna need 3 headshots to take down a helmeted opponent. This makes the MP5 slightly more of a close range weapon than the MP7. It also has noticeably worse movement accuracy. For the positives, there's the suppressor, but I've always found that in practice, suppressors don't really have a very big benefit compared to pretty much every other stat. The benefits of the weapon are a slightly faster reload time that I didn't notice, and more significantly, a faster movement speed. It's slightly faster than the UMP and slightly slower than the MP9 and the MAC-10. It almost feels like Valve is teasing us by having an increased movement speed and decreased movement accuracy. As it exists right now, I don't think people are going to use the MP5, and I wouldn't recommend it. I still recommend players learn the UMP, the MP9, and the MAC-10. Submachine guns are used as anti-eco weapons, meaning you don't want to spend a whole lot of extra money on them. Only stray outside of that based on your own personal preference. For example, I'm one of those noobs who still use the MP7 over the UMP, just because I like the feel better, even though intellectually, I know the UMP is the smarter choice. The MP5-SD is not unique, it's not game-changing, and it's not particularly interesting. But I don't think that's such a bad thing.
I'm glad they released a new weapon underpowered instead of overpowered, but it's still very early, things could change. That's why it's inside of the competitive build. If the weapon eventually does become meta, I'll make a new video, comprehensive tutorial teaching you how to use it. But what this does mean is we now have a pattern of Valve reintroducing guns from the previous games as suppressed alternatives. We have the USPS, we have the M4A1S, and now we have the MP5-SD. Does that mean we are going to see the TMP reintroduced as an alternative to the MP9? Does anyone else remember the TMP? Thank you so much for watching. I am TheWarOwl, and I still have no closer.
Back in my day, teammates would run up to the entrance and stop because they didn't know how to play video games.